and welcome once again to Branco Broadcast. I'm Bob Branco. How are you this evening? We're very pleased to have with us John Oliveira, President of the Association of Blind Citizens. He's here tonight to discuss beep baseball, which is very common, more common than lots of people think that it is. It's been around for a long, long time. But I'll let John talk about it and also about his own team that he's had for many years called the Boston Renegades. Welcome, John. The floor is yours.
Hey, good evening, everyone, and good evening, Bob. How are you? So, beep ball started back in the late 60s. The ball development started back then. And then right around the early 1970s, a couple teams got together. The ball was produced by the telephone pioneers. So they would purchase the ball. They have equipment. They would break the stitches. They would put the mechanisms inside the ball, the battery and the different type of equipment that would emit the sound, and then they would re-sew it back up, so stitch it back up. And then they started selling it or talking about the sports, and they were selling the balls to people who were blind that wanted to, play a little baseball with some friends at home and that sort of thing. But there's a couple of teams that started out in Minnesota. Again, that was back in the early 70s. And as time went on and things moved forward, then some folks developed the beeping bases, and that's the equipment. So let me tell you a bit about the game. So it's a game is 6 innings long. We play a 7th inning to break a tie, and if it doesn't get broken, then it remains a tie. And there's 6 players on the field, and not counting the pitcher and the catcher. And the pitcher and the catcher are sighted volunteers, and they play on your team. So there'll be 6 legally blind or blind players and the 2 volunteers. Also, thinking of safety, most teams use a spotter on each side of the outfield. And they can move around, and they are sort of watching for when players are going to collide. So, and the cue word that we use and most teams use is stop. So no one asks questions. If you're running towards the ball and someone yells out stop, everybody freezes on the field, whether you're offense or defense. That's to try to minimize, the collisions that might occur or the possible injuries that could occur. So that works fairly well, and like with any sport, people get hurt. They pull hamstrings, they twist ankles, they scrape going after the ball, they scrape their knee, their elbow. And on occasional, there's a collision between players. And in regular baseball, you do see an occasional collision between players in the outfield. They're running towards the ball, and they lose track of each other, and they might crash into each other or even crash into a wall. So, fortunately, in the 16 years or so that we've had the baseball team, we had our first major collision this year between players that resulted in an injury. Could have been a lot worse. Wasn't. Fortunately, the player was able to recover and is doing well. So the intent of the game is to score runs, and you have to get 3 outs to end an inning. So, and we only use 2 bases. So you got home plate, then you have a first base, and you have a third base. You don't use a second base, because this way players don't have to run across the middle of the field. So you hit the ball, and you either run to first base or third base. You never know which direction you're going to go. It's not automatic. So you have to hit it, and you have to freeze for a second and listen, because the base operator, who's independent, will flip the switch randomly. So sometimes it is that you run towards first base. Other times you run towards third base. So you always have to pause that fraction of a second while the fielders are listening for the ball. You're listening for the base to tell you what direction to go in. And the pitching mound is approximately 20 feet from home plate. Again, a sighted pitcher, and he's on your team, so he's not trying to strike you out. The pitcher and the catcher work to watch your swing, and they try to pitch it where you're swinging. Not that you don't have to have a consistent swing, and not that you have to work hard on how your batting stance is, and listen for the ball, and keep your swing level, those sort of things. But it's as much as the pitcher's not trying to strike you out, so he's not throwing you sinker balls, he's not throwing you curve balls. He's throwing a nice steady ball right down in your strike zone, hoping that you hit it. So that's pretty much what happens. You hit it, you listen for the base, you run, and the fielder fields the ball. He doesn't have to throw it to the base that you're going to. All he has to do is raise it high over his head, and the umpire calls you out if you're not at the base. He calls you safe if you've already crossed the base. So, and either a run to first or third base counts as a run. So, it doesn't matter. A home run doesn't get you any more than a good, well-hit ball that takes a while for a fielder to get to. So you can get a run on a bunt, or you can get a run on a home run. So it's pretty much, there's no doubles, there's no triples. Every hit that's not fielded and timely is counted as a run. And so right now there's approximately 20 teams around the country. So the best way for the teams to get together is through tournaments, because most of the teams are not really near each other. So the closest team we have to us right now is in Long Island, New York. There was a team in New Jersey, but there's rumors that they may not be back next year. There were two teams. There's rumors that one of them might not be back next year. Philadelphia or Pennsylvania has a team, the Wolfpack, but there's one of their main founders has left. And so no one knows the status of that team. But there are teams all around the country, Chicago, a few out in California, some out in Iowa. So there's many places that folks can go to and watch beat baseball. So every year there's a World Series of beat baseball, and next year it's in Key West, Florida. This year it was in Ames, Iowa, and so approximately 16 teams came to Ames, Iowa this year. And that usually happens the last week of July, sometimes into the first week of August. So teams typically will arrive on Sunday or Monday at the latest, and will stay through the following Sunday. Saturday night is the banquet, where the awards are handed out, the most valuable players, the most valuable defense, the most valuable offensive players, and obviously the championship trophies are handed out, and the rings for those who won the World Series. This year, the Renegades were very fortunate, and we were in the World Series game, but unfortunately were beaten by Indiana. The Indiana Thunder beat us. They were the only team that beat us during the week-long tournament, and they beat us again in the final World Series game that determines the champion of beat ball. And so I said we've had one major injury during the years that we've been playing since 2001, and there was a collision on the field on Friday during the World Series. One player didn't follow directions. In beat baseball, you never go back. You never run backwards, because the way we play, there's fielders coming in behind you. And so you always go forward, never go back. Well, the ball got by him. He turned around, went back, and the other player was charging in behind him, and they collided. Player got a fractured cheekbone, but it was a very slight fracture. Didn't require any surgery, fortunately. Didn't appear to have any issue as far as cosmetic went. But they knew it hurt for a little bit, and he had a little numbness around the top lip. But it healed, and last time I spoke to him, the numbness was just about gone. A little tingling was still left, but just about it was getting better and less every day. So fortunately, what could have been a much more serious injury to one of our 26-year-old players turned out not to be as bad. But so he wasn't able to play in the World Series, and he's a very good player, so we were missing that player, and some of the players were concerned and worried. And then when you have an injury like that, it stays on players' minds, so they're not as aggressive as going after the ball to make stops. So it had an impact on the rest of the game that he was injured in. It was against the Indy Thunder during that Friday, which we were one run behind, and after the injury happened because of the concern and that sort of thing. Indy Thunder's a good team. I'm not going to take anything away from them, but it did rattle some of our players, and then obviously missing him on the Saturday here. on the last Saturday was sort of hard on the team. So, but finishing second is great, and it was the highest finish we ever had. In past years, we'd finished 6th and 7th, and I think one year was 5th. But this was great. We finished number 2 in the nation. So all right. Why don't you guys ask any questions that you might have, and I'll be glad to answer. I'm sure there might be some folks.
I have a question.
I got a lot of questions. Go ahead.
I'll ask my question, and then I'll let Steve ask his. Is there any reason why your pitcher pitches to you rather than the opponent's pitcher?
Well, okay. So remember, beat baseball was made so that blind people can play baseball, and so the whole premise of the game is to have players compete, and if everyone is striking out players in the field, and if the pitcher is sighted and the catcher is sighted, they're going to put that ball where the batter is not swinging. And audio-wise, you can't make adjustments on the fly like that. You can come close, you can make the adjustment, but you're likely not going to hit it, or going to hit it a lot less. We have some of our batters that working closely with their pitcher. They're hitting 600-700, 500, 400. They're batting a lot. We're not batting. If the pitcher was working against them and not with them, obviously they could strike most of these guys out, and then there'd be nothing in the field for you to catch. The objective of the game is not to have the sighted pitcher and catcher work to put you out. It's to have them put the ball so that the blind player hits it, and the blind fielders chase it down. Now, the sighted pitcher cannot have any part of fielding at all. So if the ball's hit back to him, he just jumps out of the way and lets it go through, because that's for a blind player to field. So, and if the ball hits him, a line drive hits him, it's a recount. The count starts again, and the player has a chance to put the ball in play. So the pitcher's job is always to get out of the way of the ball. Never to interfere with it, never touch it, never try to, unless it's going to hit him on the head, knock it away. But even at that, it starts over. So that's why the pitchers and catchers work for the same team, and all the teams do that. So everyone is doing the same thing.
Steve?
Yeah, I guess I can summarize my whole bunch of questions, just basically like how many games you have in a season and when does it start, and is the balls and the bats, are they different than regular baseball? And finally, when you go to the World Series, how does they structure the playoffs in getting in there?
Okay, so the playoffs, any team can go to the World Series. The World Series itself is a week-long tournament.
Uh-huh.
So it's a whole, I'm not good on all this brackets. You get into a bracket based on how you finished last year in the World Series. if you've never been to the World Series tournament, you get placed based on when you registered. So let's say 14 teams went, and I think this year we had 4 teams that had not been, or 3 teams. Mm-hmm. So they got placed in the tournaments. They were like teams 17, 18, 19, and they got placed in those positions based on when they registered. So the first place team obviously is the number 1 seed. So the seeding is taken from last year's play in the World Series tournament, not what you've done during the year. So the World Series tournament, you will play on the first day. Let's say Tuesday is the first day. You will play 3 games. You play a game at 8:30, play a game at 11:30, you play a game at 2:30. And then based on that, winning those games or losing those games, then you get your next opponent based on your record. And then in the evening, so if you're 3-0, if there's another team that's 3-0, you're gonna play them the next day, or you're gonna play the worst team the next day, something like that. They have a whole bracket scheme, which it reminds me of the NCAA brackets. Okay, I don't get much into that, but that's for the statisticians to figure out. And so your position, so you play the first game's 3, and then you're gonna play 2 games every other day: Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the 4 top teams play on Saturday. So there's a consolation game, which they play first, and then that's the teams 3 and 4, and whoever wins that one becomes the 3rd team. And then teams 1 and 2, based on the record for the week, will play each other, and the team that wins that game will be the world champion.
So how many regular games do you have? Do you have a set number of games in the regular season?
No, there's no.
No, you don't. Okay.
It's all based on how much money you can raise. Okay, so you go to the World Series, you're paying for your airfares, you're paying for your hotel rooms, you're paying for all that stuff, vans that we rent, food, all that sort of thing, tournament fees, and then now that's the big series. Okay, now they're called regional tournaments, which we've gone to one in the past in Chicago, and so a lot of teams from the Midwest come in and play in that tournament. For a weekend tournament, it could be as much as 8 teams. And you play on Saturday and Sunday. Okay, and then so there's regional tournaments that start in June. So we also go to a tournament in New York. Well, it rotates between Long Island, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and then back to us here in Boston. Mm-hmm. So the New York Long Island Bombers, the New Jersey Lightning, and the Pennsylvania Wolfpack, and the Boston Renegades get together every year on July 10th, the second weekend, not the 4th of July, but the following weekend. Yeah. That's when we play each other in one of those home cities. And again, that when we get together, we will play 3 games in one day on Saturday. So we travel Friday to this city, and then Saturday we play all day, and then depending on how tired the volunteers are that drive the car, usually we leave by 7 o'clock, and we're back home around midnight, 11 o'clock here back in Boston.
So I take it your games aren't that long if you can play 3 games in a day, right?
They're 6 innings.
6 innings.
3 hours.
What's the average length of a game? I mean, I'm sure it varies a lot, but
it varies a lot. It depends on how the pitcher is, how many runs are scored. Yeah. Some of these games, you end up winning 18 to 17. Some of them you end up winning 7 to 8. You don't have shutouts, 1-0. They're usually more high-scoring affairs, 6 to 5 or 10 to 6, because it's how the nature of the game is. But so we can play on a weekend tournament like that. We play on Saturday. We get all 3 games on Saturday because we're trying to save the additional cost of hotel rooms for another night.
Yeah.
And but there are tournaments in Indiana. There are tournaments on the West Coast that the West Coast teams participate in. But any team can go to any tournament as long as you pay your registration fee and you have the money to pay for the team's expenses to come in and play.
Yep. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Ed Fetish from New Jersey.
Go ahead, Ed.
Quick question. I have been for the past 20 years the Lions District chairman for the 16A district for the New Jersey Association of Blind Athletes. Basically, I'm not very athletic, but I was a glorified fundraiser, and I had to step down for personal.
Well, fundraisers are very important in a game. Without the fundraising, nothing happens.
I had very good rapport with them and knew some of them personally. But my question basically is, are you in any way involved with or a part of the United States Association of Blind Athletes?
No, we are not. But I know a lot of blind athletes are. The National Beep Baseball Association is the main organization that the Boston Renegades, we pay an annual fee to register a team.
That's the parent organization.
It's who?
That's your parent organization, more or less.
That would be the parent organization of Beep Baseball. So Association of Blind Citizens is a nonprofit, and we do different things here in Boston. And so one of the activities we sponsored was the Boston Renegades, but we wanted to be part of that league. So, and the annual fee is only $25, $30. And then so that lets you, so you're registered as a team, and then you get they post you on their website. And so nbba.org, if anybody's interested, that's the team, that's the site that will list all the teams across the country. We'll have pictures and audio and visual stuff of the World Series games. So if you've never heard or seen a baseball game, feel free to go to nbba.org and then go down to World Series. And I think they have the audio, and this year they had video and audio of the games. So you might be able to catch that on there.
So what is the name of the national organization that you represent?
The organization I represent is more of a regional, but yeah, it's Association of Blind Citizens.
Oh, Blind Citizens. Okay.
Yeah, our website is blindcitizens.org.
I have another question quickly. Are you familiar with Blind Sports? That's another offshoot of some of these, I think.
Yeah, Blind Sports, aren't they out of Pennsylvania?
I believe so. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I
don't know what was going on with these things. I stepped down this year or so. Yeah.
So I believe that Blind Sports is associated with the Pennsylvania Wolfpack, which is a Pennsylvania team. I've seen that name around somewhere, and I'm thinking, if my memory serves me right, that Blind Sports is what the Association of Blind Citizens was to the Wolfpack, is their organization that helped them raise money.
Are they a national group? Do you know? Blind Sports?
I couldn't tell you that. No, I don't know.
I don't know either. Thanks. I think you've answered all my questions. Appreciate it.
Wow. You're very, very, very knowledgeable in the area, so that's good. Are you still a Lion?
Oh, I'm still a Lion, but I had to step down for health reasons from being your district chairman. Oh, yeah, we were redistricted. We had 5 districts, and I was the chairman of A. Now we're down to 3 districts, and there were a lot of sweeping changes at once, all at once, which I think is never good. It's not good continuity, in my opinion. Right.
Yeah, the Lions, unfortunately, are shrinking. Not just the Lions. A lot of membership organizations.
I'm the Elks organist in my area, too, and they have the same type of problem.
Same type of issue.
Getting and retaining membership. The younger people just don't, as a group, just don't seem to be.
No, they just want to sit. They just want to sit on Facebook and talk about it. They have to start a Lions Club Facebook group.
Yeah, right.
That would pick up some steam. I'm a Lion here in the Boston Host Lions.
Good.
We meet at the Union Oyster House on the second Wednesday.
I'm a past region chairman also.
All right, any other questions?
I've had my place in the sun and done my thing, and I really think we need some new blood because the older people just can't make it anymore. Can't get there, or
unfortunately, we can't go on forever, right?
Issues, and believe me, they've paid their dues, most of them,
Yeah.
Really, they didn't just network the way some of the younger people tend to do. They really had the interest and the goals. The We Serve business was, at heart with them.
Yeah. I got you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions, folks?
Yes, I have a question.
Karen? What's your name?
Karen. Were you the Beacon Street Bombers before you were the Boston Renegades?
No. Beacon Street
Or was
Bombers.
that a totally different thing?
Beacon Street Bombers was a team back in the 70s.
Right.
Charlie Crawford and Chris Devon and a bunch of others.
I know them.
Before our time, they used to use a ball, and they would bounce the ball, and they would hit it with a bat. It wasn't beeping ball.
Oh, it wasn't. Okay, I didn't know.
I think it was a ball with a bell in it. As a matter of fact, we started with the same premise that the Beacon Street Bombers had. We just intended to go play a little beat ball on Saturday afternoon at a park in Brookline, and then all of a sudden we got some folks together, and they got hungry and wanted to go play other teams. Well, if we want to play other teams, then we have to find other teams to play. So,
right.
Matter of fact, the first year we started, we had Bob Branco headed up a team in New Bedford, and
I remember that.
We played them for 1 year, and then that team went in a different direction, and we went national. So,
wow.
Now, I have another question. Can people come and watch the games, like in any game in the Boston area?
Oh yeah, you can go. You can watch the games. So the only games that we would be playing this year or next year is going to be. It's our turn to host the tournament in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have all the teams, we will have a couple of games here. If we only have 2 teams, or 3, then they'll come and we'll play like 2 games in a day, and people can listen, can come and watch. But it usually is the family and friends and associates, neighbors of the players, because we don't have we play on a public field, number one.
Right.
And beat baseball, when the ball is hit, it's like watching golf. You have to be quiet, because if you start cheering, the players can't hear the ball, and the players can't hear the base where they're running. So it's like golf. You have to be quiet. You hit the ball, you let the action go on, and then when the umpire makes his call, then you can let out a cheer or a boo, whatever side you're on. But the whole intent is that you can come see them. Our schedule will be up on our website, blindcitizens.org, in April or May of next year. But we have a whole lot of stuff about beatball on our site, too, and related to our team and the rules of the game and all that stuff. So you can go to blindcitizens.org if you just want to read about the Boston Renegades, or you can go to NBBA, National Baseball Association, NBBA.org. That's to read about all the teams in the country.
Yeah. John, could you describe the beatball itself?
Yeah, beatball is it's bigger than a baseball. I think it's 16 inches around. It's more definitely the size of a softball. Those are bigger, right?
Yeah.
And but it's heavier because it's been broken open and filled with electronics, and then it gets stitched up. So the ball is heavier than you would feel. So a lot of the balls that are hit and drop quickly and end up on the ground, and the players feel them on the ground. So, as a matter of fact, the ball is so heavy. Well, it's not heavy, but I mean it's much heavier than the regular ball. If you hit the ball, and the ball is caught in the air so rarely that if you catch the ball as a fly ball or a pop-up, it's automatically called 3 outs. And I think since the 70s, that might have happened 3 or 4 times that a player caught a ball in the air without fielding it on the ground, off the ground.
How are the bats? Are the bats different than regular baseball?
Okay, so the bats are not wooden because we don't want bats breaking and splintering all over the place. Okay,
right.
So we use aluminum bats, and those we've had a couple break. And I remember on the Long Island team, the bat broke, and the sharp point went out towards the pitcher, and the pitcher took a nasty injury in the leg.
Oh wow!
And had to go to the hospital, and there was stitches. It was pretty deep gash. But typically they don't. We had that happen a couple of times. So now before any of the tournaments, the bats are inspected by the umpires and to make sure that there are no cracks or issues that might cause the bat to break when it hits the ball.
How long does I'm sorry.
these bats are not designed to hit beep balls. They were designed to hit the regular-sized ball, and so they have regular bat.
Yeah.
So, and the players, get the bats according to what they like. Some players like a heavier bat. Some players like a lighter bat. So, but the bat is an aluminum bat that you'd use in college baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff like that.
Now, how about the balls, the electronics? I mean, how do they fare getting hit all the time? Do they last a while? Or?
Oh, no. We break 2 or 3 balls a game. Each ball costs $36.
Oh, wow.
So if you hit a ball and the beeper goes dead on it, then that play gets thrown out and you get to hit again.
So it's like a foul ball.
As long as the ball is beeping, even if you can tell that the cover was broken, but if it continues to beep, the play continues because the players can find it.
Right.
But if the ball is hit and goes totally dead, silent, then we throw new ball into play and we start the count again.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys caught that. I said each player has 4 strikes and 1 ball. So you can't walk and beat baseball. You're going to hit that ball. And some players are now proposing a rule that we even take away the ball and just have it 4 strikes.
4 strikes.
Mm-hmm. So if you have 2 strikes on you, just stand there, and if they took away the ball call, you get a 3rd strike. Now you're allowed to take 1 ball to help you listen to where the sound of the ball is.
Uh-huh.
But,
so who invented beep baseball? Is that attributed to any one person?
Well, no, it's attributed to the telephone pioneers, actually. They developed the beep ball.
Oh, they were good,
pioneers back in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yep.
They developed, one guy says, well, blind people might be able to hit a ball if they could hear it. So this guy developed it. Now, today's beep balls, they're sold by the Denver Beep Ball Company. So the Denver Beep Ball Company, which is another chapter of the telephone pioneers, the old AT&T pioneers and all that. Mm-hmm. So they purchase the balls from this company. Again, they have the equipment. They unstitch it. They put the parts inside the ball, and then they restitch it, and then they sell it to the teams of the National Beep Baseball League and other people who want to buy a beep ball.
And you activate it when you take a pin out of the ball, correct? And then you
there's a charger, so you have to charge the ball because they put a little battery in it, and so to keep the ball from chirping all the time, there's a pin. When a game starts, the pitcher pulls the pin and puts it in his pocket and pitches it, and then they put the pin in between innings, or they put the pin in when the game's over or whatever. If they're changing balls, they put the pin in it because they have to go get charged. So when we go to tournaments, there's one of the players that he's responsible for. We have all the charges for them, and he'll be charging 8, 9, 10, 12 balls in his room to make sure that there's plenty of balls available for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What about practice?
Okay, our team practices on Sunday, beginning in March. They start practicing first indoors. We have a batting cage that we go to. Sometimes some guys do it in February. We got a batting cage that we go to, and then when the weather is nice, say March, April, they practice at a field in Watertown, Filipello Park, I think it's called. It's not far from Watertown Square. We used to practice at Cleveland Circle in Brookline.
Right.
The field there, but that field it was so poorly maintained by the city. There's a lot of holes, and a lot of the players with turning ankles and twisting, whatever. So we moved it to Watertown, where we have to pay for the rental of the field, but it is the town does a great job at keeping it up and keeping it mowed and keeping it from getting full of divots and that sort of thing. They take care of it.
I'm surprised you don't use Brookline Recreation where the handicap group is.
Well, no, this Watertown seemed to work out. It has the field that we're looking for. So we've been there for a bunch of years, and it's worked out well. So we practice on Sundays, and then when it gets about 4 weeks before the tournament, they practice on Wednesday nights from 6 until 8. Also, it's on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
And Fetus with another question.
Sure.
Do you have any knowledge? How long have you been with this? Maybe I missed it. I came in a little late, unfortunately.
I started the team back in 2001.
Oh, then you may not know about this person, or you might have heard him as a legendary. Did you ever hear anything about an Arthur Copeland?
No, I cannot recall that name.
He was from New Jersey, and he's passed away now. And he started the United States Association of Blind Athletes here in New Jersey, and then, of course, it grew into a scope international acceptance and recognition.
Yeah, yeah.
How do they deal with rainouts if you have bad rain, you know?
To be honest with you, if you have a rainout, you have a problem. because everything is so designed around that time that you hope and pray that you don't get rain. So the problem with the rain is if it's a light rain, they can continue to play.
Yeah.
But when the field starts getting muddy, because the ball, the speaker on the ball and the hole where the pin goes into, you can't if the mud gets into that, then you can't hear the ball and you can't charge the ball.
Yeah.
So we try not to play in muddy into the rain, but we have played in the rain. We also play on fields. Okay, so we don't play on a regular baseball field. We take the outfield. So the most ideal field for us to play beat ball on is a soccer field because it's all grass.
Oh yeah.
So we don't worry about the dirt part or anything like that. So we take the grass and we set the home plate down, and then we measure 100 feet from home plate, 100 feet from third base, 100 feet from home plate to first base, and we measure 20 feet from home plate to the pitcher's mound.
100 feet, huh?
100 feet to run down the line, yes.
Yeah.
Remember, I said it's a run. So you have to do a little more than 90 feet, what they do in baseball.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You get a run, so we put it at 100 feet. And
do you have any audios, videos, or brochures or something in print?
Yeah, if you go to that website nbba.org and look,
I was thinking in terms of presentations to Lions clubs,
Well, the local teams do the presentations, so the New Jersey team would be the one.
Well, we can always bring a laptop. I mean, that can be worked.
Yeah, you can always. I've done that before. I've done that with a DVD. Pop that in and play it on a laptop. Sometimes if they have a projector, you can put it up on a screen.
They can have the right lighting and the right contrast. And I mean, I don't have any useful vision, but I know what these things are because I have arranged some of them in the past.
Yeah, exactly. So, so that's if you want to listen to the audio or watch the video, if you got some vision, then you can check out nbba.org. If you go to blindcitizens.org, just click on the link that says Beep Baseball.
NBBA, is that?
National Beep Baseball Association, nbba.org.
And your association is what?
Called Blind. The website is blindcitizens.org.
Oh, BCA. BlindCitizensAssociation.org also.
No, it's just blindcitizens.org.
Oh,
just
blindcitizens.org.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Is that a local to Boston organization, the Blind Citizens?
Well, we are registered in New England and we're registered in California, and
okay.
No, we don't just do local stuff. We do every year, and Bob has been to this, I believe, years ago. We have those of you who live in Boston, we have at the Fords, we have a holiday party, usually in the second week of December. Okay. And then
really?
I've been there. It's fun.
Yeah, and then we do a Yankee swap, and then in August we do another luncheon where we have Morgan White Jr. come and do trivia from WBZ Radio.
Oh, wow. Where do you do that? In August.
What did you say?
Where do you do the August one usually? Do you have a set place for that?
Yeah, we've been using the Force since 2000.
Oh, so that's a good place to have them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good place. I think Bob came to ours and then decided to move his. It was someplace else, yours, right, Bob?
Yeah. And when I went to yours, we've been going there ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good place, and you get the second floor, and it's all more of a private area, and the food is very tasty, and variety of food.
John.
Yeah.
John, this is Don in Central Mass.
Hello, Don.
Hello there. I used to actually play beeper ball when way back in the 70s. I used to belong to this recreational leisure time group for blind and visually impaired people from Central Mass. So I actually played beeper ball, and I was able to hit the thing. For a few times. I was proud of myself there.
Yeah, there you go.
I did. A couple of questions. I think you answered one of my questions already. I knew that it was invented by the telephone pioneers. Did you say that was from AT&T?
I think they used to be with AT&T, and then when the whole breakup went down with the baby bells, then they became associated with the different baby bells. But yeah, their telephone pioneers were employees of telephone workers around the country.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now my second question was the beeper ball industry, I could say. Does this consist of visually impaired, legally blind folks as well?
Okay, so on beep baseball, whether you're legally blind or totally blind or low vision, everyone is asked to put a blindfold on. So you must wear the blindfold whenever you're on the field or at bat. If you touch that blindfold and try to move it so you can see, you'll be called out.
Because we have an equal playing field that way.
That's just for the legally blind people.
Yeah, our team, everybody on it is legally blind or totally blind. Majority are legally blind.
Well, if you're totally blind, you don't need the blindfold.
Oh, yes, you do. No, everybody's the same.
Playing field that way.
Totally blind or legally blind, everyone wears the blindfold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's equal, right?
Everything.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, yeah, me too.
So, if any of you guys have heard of blind golf, now blind golf has a division. They do break that up. If you're a totally blind golfer, you're playing against other totally blind golfers, and if you're legally blind, you're playing against other legally blind golfers. So you don't play as totally blind.
Yeah.
But in beep ball, to keep that from happening, so it's easier to make everyone totally blind when you're on the field and when you're at bat.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
See, when I played back in the 70s, we were not a designated group. We were just a bunch of people.
Yeah, I know. Just recreation, having fun.
Yeah.
Just having fun. That's all.
It was.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great.
I was actually able to hit it a few times.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good.
There you go.
Myself. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
What about the umpires? The umpires are the people that are the sighted people that are guiding us?
No, the umpires are separate, are not part of the team, and are usually brought in by the tournament. And they read the rules of the game, and they understand how it's supposed to work, and they are independent from either of the teams, so they make the calls. Mm-hmm. So they're the ones who call you out. They call you.
Okay, so it's just like the regular.
Yes.
Teams.
Yeah. The umpires work for the tournament, not for any of the teams in there.
Yeah.
No, they don't work. Everyone's a volunteer. There's no one gets paid at this game.
Right.
All the sighted volunteers that help. We have about 25 in Boston that work with the team. Mm-hmm. All the people that travel, they don't get paid. They use vacation time. We cover all their expenses, or they help us. They help in fundraisers to help cover all their expenses. So they don't pay anything, but they have to drive the vehicles for the blind folks, and they have to, work on the fields. And sometimes you go on the field, you leave the hotel at 7 in the morning, and you don't get back to the hotel till 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night.
So do you have any blind?
Then you have
actually sighted volunteers. Other than.
We don't have any partially sighted volunteers at this time, but the team that beat us, the Indiana Thunder, their coach, and even he has enough sight that he pitches. He's legally blind. Mm-hmm. There have been you have to have very good vision. We have had in the past a lady who had pretty decent vision, and she was able to assist in some volunteer things as far as, activities, different workout stations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Bob and I went to in the same class. I have like a lot of sight. I have tunnel vision. I have 20. I have only 2 degrees in front of me.
Yeah.
But I have a lot for.
Right.
That's 20.
Yeah.
So
I got you.
A lot of people.
We haven't had any
faking it.
Have been regular volunteers. Yeah, that's right. That's okay. Faking it is all right. Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
So, so that's. But we have about 25 volunteers that work with the team here, and they put in a lot of hours and that sort of thing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hi, John. This is Penny Frankenstein.
Hello, Penny. How are you?
I'm fine. I co-founded the Shot in the Dark team in Ithaca, New York, back in 1981.
Okay.
And I played on the Binghamton, New York team for a while in the early 90s. And unfortunately, Pittsburgh doesn't have a team. And I can't seem to get the interest up in Pittsburgh to get one together. We would love to.
Yeah, the team the Pennsylvania Wolfpack, they're more based out of New York.
Yeah.
Out of Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, pretty much.
And Philadelphia and right on the end.
Oh yeah.
So we don't have any active participation in Pittsburgh, but I just thought I'd come on the call because I just love baseball so much. Baseball is my first love, and when I found out that I couldn't be a baseball player, I thought, well, at least I can do something. So I really enjoyed the beat baseball, and I did a lot of fundraising, and that was really hectic. We actually made it to Minneapolis in 1982 or 83.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We've gone to Rochester, Minnesota, for a couple of World Series tournaments, and.
Yeah.
If you like to listen to games and learn more about it, you can go to the national site.
And I thought, well, this is really cool that you're talking tonight. So I just thought I'd say how much fun and how much big baseball means to me.
Well, that's what it's all about having fun, not so much whether you win or lose. It's about having fun and hanging out with people and having a good time.
Yep.
All right. Anybody else? Are we good?
I realize this is Karen. I realize this is a little off the subject, but what other things is blind citizens doing these days?
I don't know. What are we doing?
I know that I've looked up your website, and I was the one that wrote an article in the Ziegler about Camp Pride up in New Hampshire.
Oh yeah, okay, all right, yeah, Camp Pride.
So I'd like to know what you're doing these days, and I went on one of your trips to Louisa May Alcott House and the Bolton Orchards in 2006. That was fun.
Yeah, I remember that. So so we're doing a Camp Pride. As a matter of fact, this past weekend we did a camp for blind kids up in Vermont.
Wow.
Wonderful.
We had the kids came in on Friday and left on Sunday, and we have a different theme to those types of weekend camps now. We're talking about employment, and so we're developing another program for the first week of December if we find enough kids to be interested. But so this weekend was sort of they left the facility that we were in Burlington, Vermont. They left where we stayed at a lodge, and they went into town using their mobility skills. Yeah. They were given an assignment to find certain locations using GPS apps on their phones.
Oh, wow.
So that they're practicing their skills as far as orientation, mobility, asking directions, and using their technology that they say they're so good with. Let's see how you can find what you're looking at, the address we gave you with your GPS. And they had some other games going on and some other things going on talking about what's appropriate as far as interview, because the idea the kids there ranged from 15 to 18.
Okay.
So they have to learn how to interview. They have to do a lot of different things. So the workshop we're doing in December is going to be on interviewing, how to handle it when say you're looking for your first summer job. What do you do when someone asks you, well, how are you going to do this? You're blind, and how to handle those types of questions, how to give a good positive answer. So so we're doing that kind of stuff. We're doing an ABC camp, Pride. We're doing these little weekend retreats. We have a technology fund that we assist people in purchasing assistive technology around the country. And what else are we doing? We still do a show on the Internet on the second Thursday of the month called In Focus. And I think that's That's pretty much.
Do you with some of the day trips that you've had before?
Yeah, you know what? We stopped doing the day trips
and all
because
that.
Yeah, we stopped doing the day trips because the people that were coming were always the same people, and we were running out of trips to put together. To be honest with you, and then I put 2 or 3 trips together, and people weren't signing up. One of the trips we were going to do, I had a good deal to New York City.
Oh yeah,
for $200 for a weekend, and everybody said, "Oh, that's too much money." Well, you can't go to New York for $200.
Too much money.
You should have told me. I wish I'd have known about it.
Oh.
We would have went.
We would have gone.
That was going to be a round trip. All expenses covered, your hotel, all the tours that we had lined up in New York.
Oh wow!
Oh my God!
When was that?
Well, this was a few years ago. We used to do them every other month. We used to have a trip going on, and then
that'd be great.
I planned a trip down to Fall River, and we were going to go see the Lizzie Borden house.
Yeah.
And you know, we were charging $25. Oh, that's too much money. So
absolutely not.
How accessible is it over there at the Lizzie Borden house? Because don't think I've ever been there. They probably better.
Well, I was make it accessible. That's the whole thing. I was putting the trips together because we would make arrangements and have things accessible.
Right.
We did trips down to Newport Mansions, and we were able to touch things and go behind ropes.
I'd like to do that.
Went to Sturbridge Village. I went to that one.
Yeah, we did Sturbridge Village, and
I've been to Sturbridge anyways, but still, I think you should. Maybe do some again, someday.
We did some apple picking trips and
that would be
stuff
good.
like that. We did a walking tour in Boston of the chocolate shops, different chocolate shops. You go in and taste chocolate.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of stuff to do, but when you put this whole stuff together and you get 2 or 3 people sign up and everybody else is saying it's too much money because it's $20. Well, you got to pay something.
Too much money.
Yeah, I know. No free lunch here. Yeah, I know.
Speaking of free lunch,
I was organizing
else, and that's pretty cheap.
Right, and speaking of free lunch, the lunches I mentioned before, the one we do in the summertime and the holiday party, those are free lunches.
I bet you get a lot of people go to those.
Have your lunch and you don't pay for it.
Really?
So those are free lunches. So
I bet you get a crowd for that, huh?
Yeah, I think every the Christmas party is more attended. We get about 70 to 80 people. The summer party gets anywhere, depending on the Saturday that we do it in August, it's anywhere from 45 to 60.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
Yeah. But those are in fact free lunches.
Really?
So
wow.
And you get a chance to see Morgan White do a show, and a lot of people win a lot of stuff, different CDs,
sounds
and different stickers and stuff like that.
Meet new people.
Yeah, exactly. Have fun. Yeah.
I've been to a few of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
I couldn't
it
go
looks like our time is about up for the show, John. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge of beat baseball with everybody, and continued success with that, and also with the Association of Blind Citizens. And thanks for being with us on the show.
All right. You have a great night. Take care.
You have a great night.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good night.
Yeah.